Over the course of about 55 million years, whales evolved from a land mammal known as Pakicetus. This animal ventured into the ocean and slowly began to adapt to its new underwater environment while still retaining the ability to walk on land. Evolving whales soon carried smooth skin and tails that aided them in the water while having legs to aid them on land. This lasted for about 20 million years until finally the legs disappeared and the use because of the use for land access was unnecessary, and the animal came to be our present-day whale. In order to adapt to an underwater environment, the evolving mammals that would eventually lead up to a whale shed their fur and carried a smooth skin to glide through the water more easily. Also, the legs of the mammals slowly disappeared so that fins could grow and allow the animal to swim faster. This process of natural selection occurred through multitudes of reproductive generations that changed the physical characteristics of whales. Scientists that have studied fossils were able to identify mutations over millions of years in the whales. This allows us to see how and why species evolve by examining the slight changes that occur over long periods of time. In today's whales, by examining the bones in their fins, we can see that they have similar bone structure to a human hand. This strikes curiosity in the minds of scientists. After the discovery, they began to collect data and evidence through all the fossils. A major discovery was when a skull that was shaped similar to a wolf skull was found in the desert. An ear bone was discovered on the skull that can only be found today in a whale's skull. The scientists then came to the conclusion that whales had evolved from land-walking animals. New species are formed through the process of speciation, which is the act of lineage splitting events that produce two or more separate forms of the same type of species. There are two major proponents of speciation which deal with the geographic isolation of a species and the separate mutations of genes within these species. The component of geographical isolation begins by the dividing of a species population to another area and the growth of each one separately. This separation allows for the mutation of certain genes in the offspring to help accommodate them to their environments, therefore creating new hybrids of the species. So, the organisms develop slightly different changes either in their outer or inner appearance that slowly develop the form of the majority of its species. Whales completed their speciation by developing fins and a tail for swimming and by also having a blowhole on the top of their head to allow them to breathe at water surface. Understanding evolution greatly impacts the quality of life for humans in various ways, one of which is the ability to develop an antibiotic resistance to bacteria that would allow for humans to live a healthier life. Also, by understanding evolution, humans will be able to distinguish any changes in our food sources and how our treatment of their environments is affecting food products. Industrial areas play a huge role in human lifestyle because if we understand how certain forms of resource consumption and pollution are being created, we can change and better our quality of life through different ways and methods of industrial consumption. By having an understanding of evolution and its changes in organisms of today's world, we as a human species will be able to make informed decisions on how we treat the environment around us. The decisions we make can be helped through the knowledge of evolution and the consideration of the well-being of other living organisms. We have to realize that while the course of adaptation by living species on Earth has been useful, we cannot rely on that alone and expect for our organisms to adapt to human accommodations. Also, through an understanding of evolution, we'll be able to predict which species of animals will have the ability to respond to diversified environmental changes and climate changes. Finally, we will be able to tell how animals are going to respond to human disturbance in their habitat.